Welcome, Mina. Thank you so much for, being here and accepting my invitation for this moonly conversation that we're about to have. From Helsinki to outer space, what does the moon mean in your life?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me as your guest. Your wonderful podcast. For me, the moon is a constant reminder of remembering to meet whatever rises in me. It's kind of like a vehicle to go towards something meaningful in life. Full moon, for me, is like a magnet. I've always loved staring at the full moon. It's beautiful and I think it's quite mysterious. The moon and kind of like nighttime also has a significance in my life as a female filmmaker and a mum. As a mum, that often your own creative space has to move towards nighttime
Yeah.
so that you can write and create. And so it has been with me that I've done a lot of my writing and a lot of my creative work at nighttime.
So have I.
Yeah.
I see you as a sort of an icebreaker, a woman's advocate through your own brave example, and also a nature lover yourself. So, how would you describe your connection to cycles, like the cycles in nature, the invisible natural world?
Well, coming from the land of 200,000 lakes, I'm well connected with nature. I'm an Aquarian, so water and air are my elements. I believe that as humans, we are our own closest piece um, of the natural world,
Mm.
and we are part of the natural world, and therefore I think we are part of the cyclical world also. Um, the invisible, well, I think there is more invisible than visible in this world. I've always thought of that, and it's always fascinated me in many ways, creatively and personally. But what I have learned that it's really important to be able to separate illusion and reality, and that's something I've been spending time with in both professional life and personal life. And well, cycles and the cyclical kind of way of being, I do think there are cycles in life, as life in itself is cyclical. And I think there's a lot of comfort we can take from that it's cyclical. It's kind of a bit, I don't know.
Accepting that it's natural, right? Because we
Yeah.
live in this society that pressures us so much in the performing way of being. Like you have to have this certain amount of deliverance in a performative kind of way. I think it's beautiful to just accept cycles, and that's what fascinates me in women, because women are more,
Mm-hmm.
prone to accepting this and to having this in their own life.
Yeah, and I've grown up with women who have always kind of like talked about life cycles and phases. It's just something I've learned and grown up with. So to me, it's quite natural that it is so. Um, I also do think that life is linear, a bit like a timeline. I do see that visually also to be so. You know, it's kind of balancing in between the two. But
Yeah.
yeah, the cyclical nature of life brings me a lot of comfort.
And as someone who has this acute attention to vulnerability, because you have this focus in your creative work as well, and the
Mhm.
human capacity of overcoming external hardships, how do you think that this your attention to this particular characteristic of humanity, of being human, how do you think that being cyclical kind of shape human activity, like daily routines, biorhythm, decision making. Specifically, how do you think that this, what have you observed in your own work that tells you that this happens?
Well, I do love to go a full circle. I just love the thought of going full circle professionally, like with a project like a film, or personally, maybe like in a relationship. I think it's a privilege to go full circle and go full circle many times in this life. I want to go full circle as many times as possible while I'm alive. And I think it gives me that kind of energy that I have. And I love starts, middles, and ends in life. Even though sometimes they're sad, it's part of life. This kind of thinking, start, middle, and end, is part of my professional life. And when I write films or TV shows or whatever else, there has to be a start, a middle, and end. And so, yeah, it's kind of a very integral part of my life. I love to wait for the next phase. I get
So
excited by that.
you'd say
But
that what drives you are the cycles in themselves, right? Because there's a cycle in the beginning and in finishing something. You think like maybe what drives you is that search for the full circle in every phase of life you go into?
oh, I think so. I always aim to go full circle rather than like give up on something because it's important to me to be able to go full circle. I feel almost restless if I don't go the full journey, go the full circle. So yeah, I guess it's a big part of my life, but I don't go planning my life around circles.
Yeah.
I accept them and I let them happen, and that's how I go. And like I said before, I also think that there is a linear timeline in life. I also think about that in that linear timeline we have all these circles and phases. This is how I
Like
think.
spirals going on and on and on.
Yeah, bit like a jewelry, that you
Mhm.
add a little pearl and another little circle, and um, that's how I look at it. As for daily routines and routines in general, I am a lover of a good routine. I think that sticking to a good routine is something that can help you move forward if you're going through difficult times. It can help you achieve things that you want to achieve if you're able to stick to a good routine. I think it's important in all stages of our lives to have healthy routines. So, yeah, I guess routines can help us push ourselves along our cycles and phases.
Like a sort of inner discipline that sets you free,
Exactly. Yeah,
enables you to
I always
adapt.
think of discipline as a positive thing. It's a positive thing, or I never see it as a negative.
And it's perfectly, adaptable to cycles. Sometimes people think that being cyclical is having no discipline whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I also like to, destroy this vision of things because you can accept being cyclical and still have your own inner discipline and adaptability to each and every phase that you're at, and
Mm-hmm.
it actually helps you go through these phases. Your
Mm-hmm.
documentary, Big versus Small, that put us together,
Yeah.
it deals deeply with fear and courage.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know what first inspired you to follow Joana Andrade and to connect her story with the world of Finnish freediving, because it was so unexpected. And then we found out that it had everything to do with, everything to connect with, because it's beautiful, the connection that you sort of manifested between Joana Andrade and Johanna Nordblad. So I'm really curious to know what drove you initially to approach these two stories and to put them together.
Mm-hmm. It's a long story. I mean, both women equally have inspired me. I found out about Joana Andrade while I was on a yoga and surf retreat in Sintra
I
in
didn't know that.
2018. Yeah, this is how I first heard about her. But before that, I had found an article on the BBC News website about women in America who surfed the Mavericks. It was an interesting article that made me go through the rabbit hole and start looking at big wave surfing and what it was all about. I live in Finland and we really don't have big waves here, and surfing in itself is not that common. So yeah, both the kind of the women surfing the big waves and Joanna's personal story were what inspired me. And I wanted to get to the bottom of why she was surfing the big waves in Nazaré. And I did, in the end, we did together get to the bottom of that. And Johanna Nordblad became our like in a fairy tale, there is always this character who is like the special helper, comes along and helps. And Johanna was that person in this fairy tale. I wanted to make this documentary kind of remind of a fairy tale, and these two women were the characters, and they had so much to learn from each other. I knew that because I knew both of them. I'd known Johanna slightly longer than Joanna because her sister is a very dear friend of mine. So I knew that they would be kindred spirits, and I was very confident that there was a lot of potential of them becoming friends. But I wasn't sure until I put them together, and the first time they met was on the film set. I put them together in front of the cameras, and it became part of the story. But it all worked beautifully, and they were just like two little girls. Um, you know, that's how I saw them playing together beautifully and listening to each other and seeing each other, and yeah, I'm so happy that it all worked out, and I trusted my instinct, knowing both of them.
So you were actually the great enabler. You were helping both of them, kind of.
Yes, I
But,
was.
but you're not present. You're just the observer, but you're like, the participating observer. And it
Mm-hmm.
was beautiful just to tell you that, to let you know that for me, it was very surprising, the turn that it took, because I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was just, something more of a descriptive sort of documentary, framing Joanna's path into big wave riding. And then it turned out to be so much more than that. And
Yeah.
and so feminine. It has such a beautiful, strong feminine energy going through it, and shows what I think really needs to happen more and more often, which is women coming together and helping each other in a
Mm-hmm.
very tender, soft, but very potent way as well. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
for the documentary. It's beautiful. I really enjoyed being a small part of it, but more than that, I enjoyed being surprised by it in this sense.
Oh, thank you so much, Joanna. Your part was big, not small.
No, no, it was just, just a contribute. You've worked in major newsrooms like the BBC and the ITN
Mm-hmm.
before moving into documentary filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
What lessons from journalism still influence you in your creative process today? Like, what's your take on the current state of your field of work as well? I'd like to know both things from you.
Mm-hmm. Well, professionally, I'm always a journalist and a documentarian. And by being that, I'm someone who likes to get to the truth. That's who I am. Um, but what lessons have influenced me and my creative process, there is something that I always carry with me, and it's don't be afraid to take risks, or to take a risk with your creative work. This is something I learned at the BBC, where I worked as a journalist at BBC News. In the team where I worked, we were encouraged to take risks and to like not worry too much if it doesn't work out. And I thought, oh, that's wonderful that someone says that go out and try this. And if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. Next time we try something else. This is what's influenced me, I think, more than anything. And this is why I've also been quite a bold, independent female filmmaker, in the sense that I've gone through quite a journey with Big versus Small, it being my first independent documentary film. But yeah, it's the risk taking, and I do think that there maybe isn't enough of it, and that we need to, as women, we particularly need to be bolder with that. Not be stupid, but be bold and not be afraid. I think that's my message. And as for the current state of my industry, the audiovisual industry and media industry, it's a good question, and one that I've spent quite a lot of time on, because the last 3 years have been very difficult, with commissions suddenly stopping here in Finland. 3 years ago, TV and film commissions radically reduced, and personally it has meant that I've had to shut down my production company, and difficult times have followed. But I know I'm not alone. The whole industry here in Finland is in the biggest crisis it's ever been in. And I think the big question is what happens to our identities as professionals when work dries up, or when the industry we've worked in for decades, I've worked in TV for 25 years, is what happens to our identities, and what more are we than those professionals with titles?
And
That's something I've spent a lot of time on, and a lot of time with colleagues going through this whole big identity question.
I'm listening to you, and I can totally relate to this reality, thinking about the music industry as well. So I think, I don't know if you agree, but we view this period of history of time that we're going through as big companies taking over everything. So everything is becoming profit oriented in a very aggressive way. And this poses like an ethical major problem, because it's commercial versus ethical, and versus identity. Would you say that these are like resistance times? I mean, do we have more than ever, do we have to become our own dignity, our own space, and resist no matter what? Because it feels lonely, it feels terrifying, but it also feels more right than ever. Like, if you know what I mean? Like, anyone that comes into the creative work is sort of a missionary. I was taught this way. Of course, I've also dealt with the commercial part of it, because I'm a songwriter and I've worked writing for others and composing music for others. You've also had to create TV contents, for instance. And so we always have this part of our work, but mainly we came to the creative world because we had to subliminate something, and we have a mission. So would you say that now more than ever, we have to embrace this very brave, courageous side of being a creative worker?
The time is for change. I don't think there is any point in going back, because there is no going back. I think the magic years, let's say in the TV and film industry, where like streaming platforms came up like mushrooms from everywhere, there were suddenly loads of them. Those times, those mad times have gone, and now it's a different time, and it's interesting to see how we start to build from here. We've certainly been faced with AI now, so many big changes into how we work, what kind of teams we work in, and what role the AI might play in those. And there's so much. But I think the good thing is that when things go a bit crazy, like they have been going, they don't last forever. There comes this point that you
Full
just
circle.
don't. Yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
Well, we've come full circle, and now there's a new circle. So, so I'm quite positive about the future. I know I have so many colleagues who've lost jobs, and it's awful. I've also had periods of unemployment for the first time, but it forces you to turn inward a little bit, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if everyone turned inward a little bit, the world could be a
Better.
better and a softer place.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Mm.
Do you feel like you have a clear purpose in the midst of all this big confusion that we're going through? You still feel your purpose like clearly?
I think so. I've always been a creative. I've always been a writer. I still have my purpose as a journalist and filmmaker. I know it's there. But my purpose really overall is to put the human first. It's in everything that I do. And to be a human to another human at work and in my personal life, this is my focus because I think that the core of humanity is in how we face, how we meet another human. And
I
you can do that in so many ways in life. I also have a sort of like a lifelong dream and purpose of finding a lifelong partner for myself. And, it's something that's not been easy being an independent film or female filmmaker and kind of going to outer space on a rocket that I've built myself and supplied the fuel. Not an easy thing to follow for anyone. But I want my future to sort of to focus on love, beauty, appreciation.
My next question is how you link all of this to your recent engagement to the world of flowers. Like,
Oh.
tell us a bit about these and other projects you're currently working on.
hmm Well, this is interesting because I've always loved flowers. I have a strong connection with nature, and I've loved gardening. Always loved it. My mum had a lovely garden when I was a little girl. But yeah, last April, I made a decision to turn a new leaf and to learn a second job because times have changed and there isn't that much work going around in TV. So I thought, well, now is a good time to learn a new job and go studying. So I started studying to be a florist, and I'm about to finish my like first 6 months of studies, and I have to say to Joanna that this journey that I've gone on with flowers has shown me that my creativity and creativity in general has no limits. It also has brought color back into my life. I admit that I lost color from my life when, 2 years ago, I had to close down my company, and it had been tough times as a small business. After COVID, we all know how it hit the culture industry.
Mm.
And, and I'd worked on projects that had very tough subjects, and it kind of had also colored my life. So now, having been away from film work and the industry for a little bit, color has come back in my life in ways that I cannot even explain to you. You'll have to look at my florist portfolio to see what I've been
Have to
up to.
send it to me. I'm so curious now.
I'm currently working on it. I have to finish it this week, and this is what I've been really busy with, putting together, my journey in the field of flowers. But the other thing and now I'm coming to the very core of what I love to do. It's meeting people in the flower shop. Simple, simple thing. Someone comes in and wants to buy flowers for someone. They never come in with a bad thought in their mind. They want to make someone happy. They want to support someone. They want to express their sorrow, joy, all
Great.
color of feelings,
Yeah.
a rainbow of
That's
feelings.
beautiful.
And I'm currently on work experience in a big flower and garden center, and I have to say that every time someone comes to buy flowers for someone else and they say something nice about that person, because they do, we have a conversation, and I personally steal a little bit of that love and that kindness into my heart. And I know that this is the reason why I have to be in that field to heal from whatever has been going on in life before this, and to also to experience this flood of compassion. Because I don't know about you, but when you look at the news and on a daily basis for the past few years, when the world has been turning into more and more crisis everywhere, I've felt that the good from life and the world has been kind of like fading a
Mm.
little bit. And now I'm seeing it has not faded. It's there. And in the floral world, in the world of flowers, it's there. And that's where I want to be.
It's beautiful. It's so inspiring to listen to this. I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll end up doing like this documentary called Flower Power or something like that. And
Something like that,
you
yes.
see this the shirt I brought today.
Oh,
I'm not
wow.
usually, filled with color, but I had
Mm.
this I don't know, I had
Uh-huh.
this situation of coming, fully colored to this conversation. And it's inspiring to, know that you had once again, you keep on
Hmm.
breaking through, yeah, and to the other side and another side and another side. And
Yeah.
Patti Smith said this once, and I think she was talking about inspired by the song by The Doors, the
Mm.
break on through the other side. And it's making more and more sense as we go through life and as we become older as well with the state of the world. I mean, it's just beautiful. And this is
Yeah.
why I wanted to do this podcast in the first place, So
Thank you.
thank you so much
Yeah,
for
my material
sharing
has
this.
changed from like hundreds of hours of film to hundreds of flowers, and I love that thought. But I will not leave documentary filmmaking or journalism. There is currently a project that wants to come in from my door, and I'm thinking, do I let it come in or it's asking for permission?
I think you
And
need to ask the flowers what they think,
I'm going to have a chat with them.
for
It's
sure.
a really good idea.
We're coming to the end of the interview. I wanted to know if there's maybe an artist, a book. I mean, probably you'll say gardening, but I wanted to know if there's a hobby or something that you'd like to suggest to our listeners to take a peek in or to just try it out, maybe.
Flower workshop of any kind, bouquet or arrangement or flower crown making.
Oh, beautiful.
Go work with flowers.
Perfect suggestion. I want to do it now. So, if you could leave a message on the moon, something timeless, what would it be?
May the force be with you.
Yay! That's actually what I say before going on stage. That's what I say to my
Uh-huh.
band. We get together like in this big group hug, and
Mm,
I always say this, just be Jedis. May the force be with you. It's what I say.
exactly.
It's beautiful. Mina, thank you so much once again. It was a lovely conversation. It was really nice to see you again. And again, you've
And
surprised me in a very beautiful way. And
oh,
I'm very grateful for that. I leave this interview really, truly inspired. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. It's been lovely to see you again.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye bye, Mina. Thank you so much.
Bye.